wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back. After that brief break, we're back on Shack Attack this evening. And after having spoken about the journalism career, we're now moving to Matric 2020, speaking about from isolation to examinations with Aadila Sirkhoth, a student who has, of course, been studying at home while others had the choice of going to school. She'll explain to us a bit about why she was at home and then had to write exams in an exam hall. And this is not unique to our situation. Of course, many students were called back to school to write, despite perhaps thinking that exams wouldn't go ahead this year. And the mindset shift that had to happen quite quickly for matrics this year. We are keen to hear what Aadila has to say. And without any further ado, we bring on Aadila Sirkhoth, a matriculant of 2020 at an IEB school, speaking to us about just how she had to adapt from being at home to being at school in already under pressure environment that matric is, despite, not despite, rather with added pressure of the COVID-19 virus. So, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to Aadila.
Wa alaikum salam and jazakallah for having me.
Aadila, thanks so much for being with us this evening. We're keen to hear about your journey. I know that you should be studying right now, or maybe saying that is being exactly like all people that put too much pressure on you right now. So I do apologize. But tell us a bit about how you spoke a bit about about the fact that you were studying or working from home at school, at school from home, and then had to go and write exams at school again. How was that transition for you, first of all, come March, saying, listen, yeah, you guys are working at home now. I know for myself, and I don't know about Aqeel, but I can speak on my own behalf, that being at home was first something that we scoffed at. We said, no, we rather cancel the year. And now I look back and I say, thank Allah that the year continued and we were able to finish our academic year from home. But that's me, and that's my internet connectivity and the WhatsApp groups that I'm part of. But what about you as a Matric 2020 student? Tell us a bit about your journey first before the reality of prelims dawned upon all of you at school this year.
Look, it happened overnight, and I'm grateful for having the opportunity and going to a school that was able to put us onto online teaching. Because I was able to also read resources from other schools from townships who weren't getting the education that we were getting. We also fortunate enough to say that we finished half the syllabus in grade 11, so we were not pushed for time. I actually look back and I say, if this was my grade 11 year, how would I have managed? The assignments and projects did become a bit tedious because instead of writing tests, they were giving us assignment after assignment. And as you know, you're not taking one subject in high school, you're taking 7 or 8, and every subject is giving you 3 or 4 assignments to do. So you had to complete it within a time frame. You had late nights, your sleep schedule was just messed up because firstly, you're at home, you don't want to wake up, you're attending half your classes from your bed, and that's just the way it is. My dad calls me a pajama matric because half my classes were in pajamas from my bed.
Aqeel, just unmute yourself there.
All right. So, I think I'd let you speak to two things. One is that there is this kind of massive disparity between people who've had the privilege of being able to study online and people who, essentially have had months and months of no academic work whatsoever. And that just worsens an existing problem in the South African education system. But then there's a completely, opposing problem, which is how on earth do you deal with transitioning to online learning? And so I'm really curious as to, you've talked a little bit about, this kind of pivot from writing exams to doing a whole lot of assignments and stuff. But in terms of the actual learning, humans are social animals. I think to a certain extent we rely on the cues from our teachers, the kind of mischief which our friends are making behind us. That's all part of our learning experience. Was it similar for you? Has it been similar for you? Do you find that you're able to concentrate better on your academics because you don't have about 15 or 20 or 30 rowdy boys and girls around you? Or is it a case of, it's just so academic that nothing wants to permeate?
For the first few months, it was more, I'm trying to stay awake. to the lesson. And I think it was for most of the people in my grade. When you hear your name, when the teacher's asking you a question, you like sprint to your computer and you're like, oh, I don't know what she asked me. I'm lost. And then you just type, my mic's not working. I don't know what to say. It's like, my mic's not working, but everyone knows that it's a joke. The whole, it's like the teachers before COVID-19 and before going into online learning, they were telling us to keep quiet. We were making noise. And now they were begging us to speak. They were like, please speak, say something. We want to know that someone's on the other side of the line. For the first few months, I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one who is going to say this. We did think that the year was going to be scrapped. And a lot of us didn't take the year very seriously. We didn't pay attention. We just like carried on with life. We waited for, the minister to come on to the TV and say whether we were going back to school or whether we have to stay online. And our teachers would bug us and say, no, like, please come to online classes. Please join the lessons. My school did adapt to like the full timetable that we would have at school, which is the normal timetable from one class to the other. So you ended up sitting for 8 hours in front of your screen and that's all you did. And then if you stood up and ran away, it's also a very different concept because in class you get to get excused. How do you excuse yourself from an online class? And then if you're away from your laptop and they're looking for you, you like, but I tried to excuse myself. So it was a very different concept because I feel like we were also put into a situation where people thought that we were robots. We had to be in front of our laptop all the time. But in school, it's not like that. So you were more monitored in a way because even homework you were submitting just to make sure that it was being done.
Now, I was about to ask, aside from submissions, how were they able to gather that Aadila doesn't know what's cracking? Because I know in class, it's obvious on the face of a student that someone doesn't understand. But with you guys, you're hiding behind avatars with profile pictures and perhaps even laying down, sleeping on the pillow next to you. And how are your educators able to actually figure that, look here, the students don't really know and I need to reteach this, or I need to actually maybe schedule one-on-ones even? Was there any of that?
So there was definitely one-on-ones. And the thing is, they tested it by assignments and other things that we had to submit. Some of the teachers, like maths and English, if you had homework for the day, you'd have to submit it like an assignment the next day with like a bunch of pictures. Or sometimes when you get into like an accounting class, you have to put on your camera and show them that you've actually done work. So it's like, you don't know whether or not you need to brush your hair on that day because the teacher could be in a
show someone.
Please show me your homework.
Yeah, look, we don't have that. Aqeel, you're still mute today. Don't forget that. I'm sure that's happening in class as well. Teachers tell you, listen, you're muted. Please unmute yourself. But we don't have too long to speak to you, unfortunately, Aadila. But if you had to just describe, your feelings when it was said that, Albus Dumbledore didn't come and announce that exams were cancelled, you had to actually write. And what your motivation is going forward now. And I don't think this might not be the last time we speak to you. We might actually get you back soon. What's your message to matrics and to matric parents as well now to prepare for finals? And how can we make sure that people are actually head above water for what's to come?
I think there's many different ways and there's many different people and students. So there's not one message for an individual because every matric student had a different experience. My experience could be totally different to the next. But to a parent and to a student, I think that they should know that you've accomplished more than any other matric year. You've learned so many more skills. Some people are saying, 2020 is not the year. No one's going to employ kids from 2020. No one wants to accept them into university, or they're going to accept them just by chance. They're not getting their fair opportunities. But we've learned more skills. We've now become technologically savvy. We've learned how to self-study. We've learned how to teach ourselves skills. We've basically had to adapt overnight to what they call a university student because we have to be responsible for our own future. So I think that to a matric student and to a matric parent, they should just be proud of them and encourage them to do the best that they can, because we've just adapted to all the challenges around us.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you 100%. And I don't think that this should be an indictment on the students of 2020, because I think firstly, how much maths or science you know is of very little use to the rest of your life. How well you can adapt, can learn new skills, can figure out technology. I think you guys had a very sudden experience for what is going to be the new normal for a lot of us. And it's the same, I think, to a certain extent for myself and Shax, you know. But I think on that point, I think we're about to close.
Yeah.
I just wanted to, it's really that you managed to sit through, you know, 7 or 8 periods worth of lessons. I remember having, I'm sure I'm going to get into trouble for this, but I can remember having Teams meetings in some of my blocks and that just being nap time. And so it is about learning how to navigate your way through this new world. And I think that all of you guys are going to be very, very much richer for it. But I think on that point, what we really do need to discuss at some point is, you know, what effects does this have on our social interactions, our friendships, our relationships, and what effect does it have on our mental health, you know?
But not this evening, unfortunately, Aadila. That's where we have to cut it. And we thank you for your time. To all of the matrics watching and parents watching, release the pressure and turn it into productivity and create a family environment where your child or your student can actually thrive. And forgive ourselves for shortcomings, because I think we're all trying to figure out what this new normal is. As much as we might hate to hear that particular term, please stay tuned for the Quantum Game Reserve competition taking place on Salam Media after the brief break. And we wish you, Aadila, all the best, your colleagues, all the best, irrespective of the school that you go to. We do wish you all the best, and that's from us at Salam Media. And don't let the exam attack you, attack the exam. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.